We could have a moment of silence for the men and women in the armed forces and our first responders. Thank you. Walter, before we state the first person's name for public speaking, I'd like to address the members of the public. First, thank you to our Board of Education and Dr. Parker for coming tonight. We appreciate that. And thank you to the public, also the staff of the Board of Education. And for those in the public, a couple of things. These are not deliberations, these are just hearings. So that means tonight you'll see the first will be the fire departments, they'll come and present, and the Board of Education. And tonight is questions for both the Town Council and the Board of Finance, because we're in a joint meeting, so we just ask the questions. Then starting next Thursday night is when the Town Council will do their deliberations. And then once the deliberations are done, then that budget moves over to the Board of Finance. And then they will make their, they will have their hearing and then make their recommendations. And that budget will go out to the public. And as we all want to keep New Milford, we're all looking for the best, that's why we're all here. We're going to keep our meetings civil, we keep our meetings professional, and we all take consideration for one another. So with that being said, I'd like to, Walter, if we could have our public participation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nancy Webb, please.
Good evening. My name is Nancy Webb. Need my address now?
Yes, please.
245 Grove Street in Milford here. I am a mom of two boys. One is in the school system. So I'm sure you've heard the facts and the statistics that have been presented to you earlier by other public comment. So this is my personal connection and my opinion to give to you tonight. So I start out with, we've heard it before, New Milford Board of Ed mission statement. The mission of New Milford Public Schools, a collaborative partnership of students, educators, family, and community, is to prepare each and every student to compete and excel in the ever-changing world. Embrace the challenges with vigor, respect and appreciate the worth of every human being, and contribute to society by providing effective instruction in dynamic curriculum, offering a wide range of valuable experiences, and inspiring the students to pursue their dreams and aspirations. My son is one of the 28 students in out-of-district placement. He was outplaced from home playing elementary about 3 years ago through a planning and placement team process. His latest independent evaluation by a psychiatrist paid for by the district because of suicidal tendencies and high anxiety concluded that my son Trevor, 9 at the time, was given an undisputed diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder combined, generalized anxiety disorder, depressive disorder, with an additional provisional diagnosis of other specified mood disorder with mood lability and reactivity. My journey with Trevor, and now my son Connor, who is in kindergarten at Hill Plain Elementary, also with an autism spectrum disorder diagnosis, is long. They're bringing me through an ever-changing special needs world and our special education system. This has also placed many people in front of me that need a helping hand. They reach out to me for any guidance I may offer, and I will never refuse. My point, my latest advocacy, was for a family friend whose daughter couldn't navigate public school after stat code. Terrible events conspired to her there, so she had been homeschooled for 3 years. She's reaching the age of 15 now, and she still has many friends in the New Milford High School and had heard about the ESS program. This prompted her to find out more. And because of this, I actually met with Principal Shagru at the beginning of this school year, and he walked us through the program. His enthusiasm and his positive opinions of the program left a great impression on me. My son, since his evaluation aforementioned, with time and consistency, is finally becoming him again. New Milford Public cannot provide what he needs currently, and he'll stay put. We will not undo the progress we're finally starting to see. We do have a few years to go, but after hearing from Principal Shagru and learning more about the Effective School Solutions Program, I actually had a hopeful thought. If, and a big if, we were ever to think of integrating my son back to New Milford Public, it would be because of this program. ESS is aimed at helping students with social, emotional, and behavioral problems. And to give you the harsh reality, my son is strong, is reactive, he has high anxiety that prevents him from participating in a lot of things. In 2017-18 school year, he had the highest number of physical restraints in the state. He saw all the adults as threats because of the abuse he incurred at Helen Plain. He didn't trust anyone, and then he turned to self-harm and suicidal threats. On one occasion, he tried to run out of the school building and said he just wanted to be hit by a car and be dead. My 9-year-old. He takes things inwardly and will beat his head on any surface when he feels distressed and out of control, but because he knows he shouldn't hurt anybody else. So he punishes himself. He will only get bigger and stronger. Most of the events that occurred prior to these behaviors were triggered by anxiety. He made a mistake on his work and was asked to erase it, but the teacher didn't know that he had been writing in pen, so he couldn't erase it. It has taken 3 years to finally undo that negative thinking and start to reset him. I believe this school year he has only one restraint. But still, when he becomes uncomfortable, anxiety and fear can set in faster than he can handle, and it's crippling. I think we all know that. As he matures and gets older, we're seeing he's capable, and given these right tools and methods to implement them, he may even want to come back to be a contributing member of our society. ESS would continue this journey for him, continuing the supports that are effective, like the daily check-ins, group and individual counseling, a home base as a safe place to find refuge when needed, where there are people whom he trusts when things get overwhelming, or the traffic at the school becomes too great. One of the reasons this program was started was with the intention to bring back our out-of-district placements. I don't have the exact numbers, but I imagine just my son's yearly tuition costs and tack onto that the transportation costs are probably in the thousands. ESS
Nancy, I've given you 5 minutes. Will you wrap it up, please?
Sure, yes. ESS is a long-term can provide financial gain. By taking the program away now, you are undoing all the progress for these, I believe, 16 students who are invested in it. And another harsh reality is for these students, and I hope I'm wrong, but most likely will flounder, will not adjust, and everything will be undone. We have to give them the tools for success, not take them away. The mission statement I read in the beginning is just a downright lie. And I want to say for public comment to the New Milford Board of Education, shame on you.
Thank you, Nancy. Michelle?
Michelle Stavas, 24 Red Cedar Drive. I'm here to ask you to add the funding to the BOE proposed budget to fully support the ESS program. As you have heard from so many parents and students over the last several days and tonight, this program is crucial to the day-to-day and long-term success, and in some cases, survival of so many students. And you have heard that this program critically impacts not only the students in the program, but also their families, their friends, and their peers. In my opinion, it is a no-brainer to fund this program. Not only does it avoid the sky-high cost of sending these students out of district, but in my opinion, it is a bargain. The professionals that these kids get access to through the ESS program are high-caliber clinical professionals with advanced degrees in their fields. To hire them into our district would be a cost that many would not tolerate. So really, there is a lot of bang for the bucks that the district pays for this program. But it is not enough for this town council or the Board of Finance to accept the BOE budget as it is, and to simply provide their recommendations that the ESS continue to be funded. This is a lean budget, as have been the BOE proposed budgets for the last many years. To approve this budget without adding back in the money to cover the ESS program would mean having to make devastating cuts in other areas of the budget. And those cuts already happened last year. and the year before that, and the year before that. Last year, the mayor and the town council cut $1 million from the BOE proposed budget. And the Board of Finance reinstated $400,000 of that money. Thank you to the Board of Finance. In my opinion, the entire $1 million should have been reinstated. Year after year, the town council has cut more than $500,000 from the BOE proposed budget. I'd like to remind you that several of you ran on platforms of supporting New Milford's children and New Milford schools. Please show us. Add money to this BOE budget so that the ESS program and all of the other programs included in this budget will remain funded. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. That's the end of the list, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Next, we'd like to ask the fire, Gaylordsville, Northville, and Waterway. Chiefs, come up, present. This will be page. Chief, I'm ready.
Chief Richard Squires, the Waterways Hose Company in Milford.
Assistant Chief Russ Coyle.
Tyler Bergman, Gaylordsville Volunteer Fire Department Lieutenant.
Just to let you guys know some of the things that we've been doing. This year alone, we did about 650 calls, emergency calls. Just in the town of Milford, that didn't include going to Northville, Gaylordsville to assist them with their calls. This year we put in service a new aerial truck, which was a federal FEMA grant. The town ended up helping us assist with that purchase of $300,000, which was greatly appreciated. You probably saw it around town a lot when we first got it. We also put into place replaced a 27-year-old engine. That just went into service this week. That was purchased from the capital fund, and we were on budget on that. Also last year, with the purchase of the two new trucks, we spent about $20,000 to replace equipment that was aged. When the truck comes in, you buy new equipment, so a lot of that equipment was 20 plus years old on that. Included anything from ventilation fans to tarps, ropes. There was a lot of requirements with the aerial piece on that equipment that we didn't have on the truck. So that money was coming from fundraisers, like our beef barbecue, our chicken barbecues, and other fundraisers, our Santa Express. Also, the department purchased a brand new rescue boat for the lake and the river. That was $36,000. That was for the department money. Again, fundraising money. That replaced a 1971 rowboat that we've been using. We still have another boat that's about 15 or 17 years old that we're going to be looking to replace in the next couple of years. Most of our increases this year were just cost of truck inspections, maintenance on equipment, some software upgrades that we're looking to do that help streamline some of our inventory, keeping track of our inventory and our equipment. Some insurance increases, as we all know, insurance premiums go up every year, so we had an increase in that. Our structural firefighting gear went up this year. My goal is to have every interior firefighter, and as an interior firefighter, there's a certain criteria they have to meet. They have to have a physical done every year. They have to do fit testing and also do a air pack drill to be certified as an air pack guy. And if you ever see it surround, anybody that's been through that, they have a sticker on their helmet. All three departments use it. Every year we change the color of that sticker to show that they're certified in that. And my goal is to actually have our interior guys have two sets of gear. Right now we all run on one set of gear. If we have a fire right now, we have to clean that gear, and that takes a couple hours. And if we have another call that comes in, we lose valuable interior firefighters. couple years ago, we had an incident Hill and Plain. There was a hazmat incident in the furnace room with, they were doing asbestos abatement. And there was about 10 or 12 of us that were out gear for about 2 weeks. We had some extra gear that we got some guys into. So we, the set of gear right now is about $3,700 to outfit one member. One interior firefighter, that's coat, pants, boots, helmets, gloves. We're also looking at replacing, we went up with our radios. We have 2 more engines that we need to replace the radios. The radios that are on there are anywhere from 15, 23, 24 years old. This will bring up, every truck has to have a radio with every air pack, which is 6 air packs on a truck, so it's 6 radios, and that's a requirement by the NFPA. This year too, we're also looking at we put a new LiDAR engine there for bailout harnesses for our interior firefighters. We are applying for a grant, so hopefully we'll be successful again in that. We've been, had great luck in the last few years with grants. But in case we don't, this is something where a firefighter needs to go out of a house, 2nd story, 3rd story, there's a harness that's actually put into the gear and assists with the bailout. They're not just jumping out, there's actually a hook that goes on and they can bail out safely. And then our training went up this year by about $3,000. The state of Connecticut is now doing the training different for our EMTs and MRTs. They're supplemental to the ambulance. We do respond on some EMS calls with them and also motor vehicle accidents. And that training is where we actually have to do continuing education. EMR, which is emergency medical responder, has to do 20 hours of continuing ed. And EMT, which is emergency medical technician, has to do 40 hours of continuing ed over a 2-year period. So we had to bring in a EMSI instructor, and he's actually keeping track of all the hours and doing the training for us. And on that note, we also just added to 3 of our vehicles, we are now Narcan certified. So if we are on a call and it's an overdose or something of that nature, we do have Narcan on the trucks. And that was a joint effort with the police department, helping us with the prescription of the Narcan.
Rich, I see you have cancer screening here. Is that just for Waterwich or?
Yeah, that is just for our department. I talked to the other chiefs late in the budget season or as the budgets were going on. We're looking at getting a baseline. There's a company that comes in, actually one of the local doctors will draw the blood and then they send it out and they will give us a baseline on all of our members. As everybody knows, cancer is, everybody has somebody that has it, and firefighters over the years have been exposed to it a lot more. So we're looking at getting a baseline. So we know.
No chest x-ray or anything like that?
No, it's all done through the blood.
Oh.
Yeah, just the blood. They will go to the doctor's office, they'll draw a sample and then send it out and they run a whole panel of things on it.
So will the others?
Yeah, I mentioned it to them, so they'll probably be looking at doing that real soon.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Chief Swack from Waterwich?
I have one, little thought of it because of what you just said. So I read somewhere that they now say that if you're screened and something shows up, a marker shows up, sometimes you're not covered by insurance.
Yeah, I mean,
Look into that.
yeah, we're actually looking at our insurance again. We had a firefighter injured this year. He's been out of work with a broken ankle. So we have workers' comp at the town, through the town, but we also have supplemental insurance. So the workers' comp is, I believe, 65% of the pay. So we actually pay a supplemental insurance to make up the difference, so they can make their mortgage payment, put food on the table. But there's been some things that have been in question that we have to go back and revisit, and I'll bring that up.
Any other questions? Mike?
Thank you guys for what you do, certainly. So it looks like the installation of the oil water separator tank went in?
That would be for, that's Lanesville,
That's for
yes.
Lanesville, Mike?
Yeah, that's for Lanesville, yeah, that's a separate,
Separate
Yeah.
firehouse?
yeah. Lanesville is actually a substation. We have vehicles down there, but the building is actually owned by the town of Milford.
So that's why we have.
Yes, yeah, that's why there's a separate.
Any other questions? Thank you, Chief Swack.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, guys.
Sir?
Mayor Bass,
How are you, sir?
members of the town council, board of finance. Chief Williamson couldn't make it here tonight, so I got away. The Gainesville Volunteer Fire Department has completed the process of replacing and repairing our turnout gear for our current members. We've continued to budget gear for new members and to stay within NFPA standards. Squire mentioned 2 sets of gear per person. We have completed 3 years of and will continue this fiscal year to implement a program to replace personnel carrying portable radios, mainly for our company officers, and additional radios for our EMS responders. Some of our current radio models are no longer repairable, so that's what they are in need of replacement. We continue to replace a small number of obsolete discontinued pagers. We've also included funding for activities for this in our budget. We have not asked for any funds for our program to replace our fire apparatus tires for NFPA standards, which have or will have reached their specified end of life. This program will be resumed in future years as the tires that we currently have reach their shelf life or end of life. We've completed our first successful year of our emergency medical responder program. This program has been a huge success. We started out going to select calls on a trial basis, and now we respond to all medical calls in the Gainesville Fire District. EMS calls approximately make up 20% of our emergency responses called last year. We are expecting to at least double that number responding to all medicals in our district. In a short time period, we've made a great impact to our community and had 1 CPR AED saved to our credit. Due to the Gainesville Fire Department implementing an EMS first responder program in conjunction with New Milford Ambulance, has allowed us to provide a quick response, a good CPR, and a quick defibrillation in which we were able to bring back a Gainesville resident who has since made a full recovery. The Gainesville Volunteer Fire Department in the budget is requesting $174,196 for our 2021 budget, which includes, I have the breakdown for it, I believe you guys have it in front of
We
you.
have the funds.
If anyone has
Does
any
anybody
questions?
have any questions for Gainesville? It's about a $3,300 increase
Right.
from last year to this year.
I just have a question about the tires. Is there any risk of waiting?
Actually, the tires we're swapping, we're in the replacement program, we're replacing our tanker, which carries the water. So we're making non-hydrant district, all hydrants we have are pretty much off tanks in the ground. So the tires that are on that tanker have been swapped over to one of our other vehicles, so we don't need to replace them.
Okay, very good.
Why the difference in hose testing?
Why the difference in hose testing? Can't speak to that necessarily. I believe because it's,
It's probably mostly, it's done by
the cost has
footage.
gone up.
Yeah, it's done by, so they have, 2 engines where we have 5 engines,
All right.
plus a ladder truck, so it's
Okay.
by, more tack lines, more 5-inch.
It's $500 less.
$500 less, so maybe we
So
broke
they have
some
fewer
hose
hoses.
last year, we don't need to replace them. So we put better hose.
You didn't test what failed last year. Good.
And they didn't budget for new stuff, so.
Yeah, there you go.
Any other questions?
Floor drainage at the substation, is that still a problem?
I believe, they're still looking at the separator for that.
Right.
Part of
That's where,
part of
that's,
the install.
that's part of, that's Lanesville.
That's gonna be, okay.
Yeah,
We
no,
didn't
that
do it
is-
last time, Walter, when we took it out. So I guess it must be pretty deep by now since it was last year.
Yeah.
Any other questions? For Gainesville? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
We got a slight increase, we let these guys do all the shopping this year.
We have about $1,400.
Yeah. Nothing really extravagant. Just take it quick.
And this is Northville, just for the public.
Any questions on Northville's expense line?
And just to answer the question earlier on the tires, it's every 7 to 10 years they need to be replaced for USD specs.
And what year was this on that?
What year vehicle are they on?
Yeah.
I don't have that number off the top of my head.
Forget what year.
Ballpark is we just replaced them like in the past year and a half, year or 2 years.
Oh, okay, so
So
they're.
there's plenty of life, that's why.
Very good. So we wait to hear.
Any other questions for the fire
So
department?
comment, just as we said to the guys the other night, thank you very much for what you do.
And thank you, we appreciate what you do as well.
Really appreciate it.
Anytime you guys want, feel free to stop by and visit us. We're there Wednesday nights, Sunday mornings. I think Yalesville is Thursday nights, but by all means, stop and see what you approve.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Next, we're going to move to the Board of Education and their presentation. And while they're setting up, I'd like to thank Dr. Parker and Chairwoman Ingrid Chastain for setting it up where I was able to tour every school this year and speak to the principals as we tour the schools. So I'd like to thank Dr. Parker and Chairwoman Chastain for the opportunity to do that. So thank you.
Stay going to the lights. Okay, I'm stressed out. You're not right there already.
While they're getting set up, I would just like to thank the mayor, the town council, the board of finance members for hosting the Board of Education tonight. I know that you, like us, spend countless hours on your elected duties, and we thank you for your commitment. I don't get many opportunities to publicly thank the school administration for their work, especially on the school budget, and I'd like to take that opportunity tonight. They put in long hours, they came in on holidays and weekends, they scrutinized every dollar to give our children the best education possible, and their efforts do not go unnoticed. Thank you. Finally, I would like to thank the Board of Education members. They also put in many hours each week attending subcommittee meetings, regular Board of Ed meetings, special Board of Ed meetings, town meetings, and lately, budget meetings. I know we all strive to provide New Milford children with the best educational opportunities possible. We have a short video to show you, and then we have a PowerPoint, and then we'd love to entertain any questions that you have.
Hello, I'm Carrie Parker, Superintendent of New Milford Public Schools, where our mission is to be a collaborative partnership of students, educators, family, and community, preparing each and every student to compete and excel in an ever-changing world, embracing challenges with vigor, respect, and appreciation for the worth of every human being, contributing to society by providing effective instruction and dynamic curriculum, offering a wide range of valuable experiences, and inspiring students to pursue their dreams and aspirations. New Milford Public Schools serves 3,925 students from preschool through 12th grade and has 581 dedicated employees. The 2020-21 Board of Education budget is $65,464,776, which is an increase of $1,424,084, or 2.22% over the current year's budget, and supports our growing mandated needs in bilingual and special education programming. As such, we are pleased to present the budget priorities and program improvements for the 2020-21 school year. We must increase instructional opportunities for students by hiring 2 bilingual teachers, 1 at Hill and Plain Elementary and 1 at Northville Elementary. We must also hire 1 part-time Excel preschool teacher at Northville Elementary, as well as 3 part-time Excel preschool paraeducators at Northville Elementary. An additional 1 hour per day increase is needed for the 3 current Excel preschool paraeducators at Hill and Plain Elementary as they move from the 3-year-old program to the 4-year-old program. For the 2020-21 school year, we must maintain previously grant-funded positions or programs by using district funds to pay for 1 part-time district-wide bilingual coordinator. Hello, I'm Carrie Hello, I'm Carrie.
I know, it's good.
That little boy in the video, while he was writing that, the one that was hamming it up in front of the video. I was at the high school today, and the high school class, they were talking about being a ham.
Hello, I'm Carrie Park.
And one of the girls was like, I'm really offended if you called me a ham. They didn't have any concept of what that meant. I thought that was interesting. Not gonna work?
You want to give us the rest of them?
We'll move on to the PowerPoint, that's fine.
Yeah. We're gonna post it online, so.
Yeah, I'm sure you get a copy of that.
Well, from what we saw, it was pretty excellent. Dr. Parker, pretty
It's
excellent.
all about the kids and the teachers.
That's it.
Thank you. It'll be available, we just want to leave you one more, okay?
Okay, some of this might be a little bit of a repeat, but we'll give opportunity to ask questions if you have any. We have 3,925 students pre-K through 12 in the district this year. 196 students with non-English home languages. We currently have students with 15 different languages that they speak in the home. We are becoming more diverse, obviously. We have 26% of our students are minority students. Our free and reduced lunch population is growing 34% currently, and we have 597 special ed students. Pupil expenditures, you hear a lot about that when we talk about education. Our per pupil expenditure by the Connecticut State Department of Ed is $15,556. And we just listed some other districts there. The average for some of our surrounding districts, Bethel, New Fairfield, Sherman, the region schools is about a little over 23,000. The state average is almost 17,000, and our DERG is a little over 17,000. The Board of Ed proposed budget from the superintendent was a 2.82% increase. The Board of Ed made some adjustments and brought it down to a 2.2%. As Dr. Parker said in the video, some of the changes that we made were mandated by the English teachers. When you have more than 20 students that speak a language, you have to have a teacher that speaks that same language, so those are not optional for us. Those are mandated by the state, unfunded mandates as the state likes to do. We also have a growing preschool populations, special needs, so we pair those with a regular ed child and come up with our Excel program, so we have some additional needs there. The adult ed position, and then we're working with the town to have school resource officers or armed security guards, armed security officers in each school. So that is a cost of $25,000 in addition to some of the other monies we have in our budget for that. We haven't updated our strategic plan in a number of years, and now we have a portrait of the graduate that we have to do, again, through the state. So we have $17,000 allotted to that. We are upgrading our student information system, which is our home phone numbers and things like that. This will enable us to have information transferred from school to school. If you have a child in the district, I filled out this paper last year, why do I do this again? So that will help with this. Our musical money, when money comes in for that, we always give it back to them. So we're just removing that and just keeping that in that account. So that's a $10,000 increase. We are dropping a regular education staff by 1 at Sarah Noble due to enrollment, and we're decreasing 1 full-time math at the high school. Yeah, those were Dr. Parker's proposal. And then the Board of Ed made some additional changes. We removed the 5-year capital, which was no change to the bottom line because we had planned for that to come out of the capital reserve. So we decreased the funding for the full-time ESS program, and we eliminated 1 English teacher at the high school. That's for SAT prep. We eliminated the math Dr. Parker's recommendation, and then we went ahead and eliminated the English as well. So how does this money break down? This is by major object codes. You can see that salary and benefits is 77% of our budget, almost 78%. And then if we break it down by division, you can see there 24,000 to schools, 24 million to schools, 15 million to special ed, 11 million for benefits, 5 facility, 4 million for transportation, and so on. We have a robust athletics program at Newell for high school. We also have programs at Statico and some exploratory programs at Sarah Noble. We are very thankful for the town's collaboration. We have been able to accomplish quite a lot, and we still work for this every month. There are some of the things we've partnered on in the last year or so. And we just wanted to show you some surrounding town budgets and where ours falls with that. And I think we have a high of Danbury at 7.34 and a low of Region 12 of 0.76. Our proposed budget is strategically focused on supporting the programmatic needs and resources of the district.
Anybody have any questions for the Board of Education?
Sure, I'll address the elephant in the room. So I was at the education budget hearing, and there was a lot of talk about this ESS program and to have a cut. What is the reasoning behind having a cut? Is it, are we not helping these kids, or is there other ways that we can do this, or can you just expound on that so we can get a good handle on it?
Absolutely. The program was reduced, it was not completely eliminated. We went from a full program to half to just having a half program is what we're proposing. We did that because we felt that there are other ways to provide those services at a lesser cost. We contract that service out now, and as with anything you contract, there's obviously profitability for the company that provides that service. So we feel like we can do the same thing or something very comparable for those students and those families at a lesser cost.
Do the parents and students understand this?
I think there's been a lot of misinformation in the community. Hopefully, we can now have the opportunity to say that.
I have a question to follow up on your questions and your response, Angie. You mentioned that you felt that we could provide our own solution, which, if we can, would be wonderful. What does that look like? Because or is there a place that that's called out in the budget? Because I didn't see anything added in that to me jumped out like it would be providing that same level of service.
That's a great question. Turn that over to you.
You know, while we didn't plan for this in the superintendent budget, what we always do and what we're committed to doing is addressing the needs of every student. And so some things have been said like it's being eliminated, but never would be non-service students who had a need. And so there is money that was left in there that is earmarked as ESS, whether we have that company, ESS is a company, all right, that we pay and contract with to come in and provide services. And they're exceptional. I'm not saying that they're not, but I'm saying that we would have a responsibility to say, okay, this is how much money we have, and what can we do with that? Can we provide 3 additional social workers, hire them and have them target, you know, the same with the kids that we're providing services through ESS, but we would never not service the needs of our students. We're not committed to ignoring people.
Right, but I guess what I'm really asking is what exactly in the budget does that look like?
It's all a process. We haven't even, again, it just happened as far as I didn't plan for how we're going to address the needs. That's something that we're working on right now. We've been looking at, okay, if we have this much money, then what does that look like? We can hire additional social workers, we can develop our program, we can address those needs. So it's not like I can say, oh, here's what we're going to do in place of it, because we haven't yet had the opportunity to do that.
think what you're looking for is, in June, we go back and readjust our budget. So at that point, we'll look at all the options on the table and find out which ones we want to pursue, and then we'll move from there. But just to further, if you give a little bit further information, there are 169 school districts in the state of Connecticut. Less than 10 have this program. And I agree with Dr. Parker. It's a great program. I've heard wonderful things about it. You've heard wonderful things about it here. But I think we can do it better, at least more economically in-house. There are 159 districts that don't have this program and they provide these things for these students. We have students in this district with these same needs that are not in this program, and we take care of them every day. So I understand that you're concerned, and as rightful you should be, but it is our job to take care of these students. We have done this before this program came in, and we will do this if this program goes away. That is our job, and we'll do it.
I just have one more question. I'm sorry, just because then I'll finish the stream and we'll move on to something else, I hope. Do you anticipate then that we would see an increase in either the out-of-district tuition or legal expenses with dissatisfied families seeking legal recourse?
I think we always have families that, opt to advocate for the best option for their child. So I think we always have some legal expenses surrounding that. Our hope is that we could not increase those expenses. We do have placeholders in the budget in case that does happen, because it's very fluid as it is now. We have students that move in, we have students that move out, so the numbers are always changing.
All right, but just to confirm, we didn't increase those numbers for those lines, for the out-of-district tuition.
That is correct. I'm actually not 100% certain what the number was last year. Laura?
We have the same number of out-of-district numbers, so we haven't increased, we don't have any additional placeholders.
Is there any reason we didn't increase those when we were making this recommendation?
So the budget was proposed by the superintendent. The change was made by the Board of Ed. So we haven't gone back to revisit that yet. That's something we would do in June, once we have a solid budget number that's been voted on by the taxpayer. That's how we always work it.
But why wouldn't we consider increasing those now? If we think it's likely to happen, you may think it's not likely to happen, and then it's fine as is, but.
That's just not how the process works. So we submit the budget to the town council makes a recommendation, it goes to the Board of Finance, it's voted on, then it comes back to the Board of Ed, and then that's when we make our adjustments.
Okay, I understand the process. I guess what I'm probably not explaining very well is do we anticipate that we may see more out-of-district tuition? Because I would expect that would probably rise. If that's the case, why would we not plan for that now?
We have 4 placeholders in there as it is now.
Beyond what we currently have for out-of-district?
Correct.
So we're planning that there will probably be 4 additional out-of-district placements next year.
No.
We're hoping that there's not, but I mean, we have the contingency in there, there is. That's something we always do. Like I said, special ed is very fluid. We have kids move in, we have kids move out, sometimes the needs are higher, sometimes the needs aren't. So we just need to have that buffer because it is such a fluid number.
So, I'm sorry, I'm confused because I heard yes and no. And I'm sorry, I'm not like trying to be a beast here, I just want to understand.
We put 4 spots in there for potential out-of-district. We have not seen a significant change of out-of-district placements over a course of years before we had the ES as to now. So it's based on, it's purely, we have no idea what our out-of-placements are going to be. They could decrease, they could increase. Should they increase, we have 4 additional places set. If we get 5 or 6, we would have to make other adjustments. It is purely an unknown, but consistently for that program and currently, am I correct? Our numbers have not changed for it.
So our numbers haven't changed, but we had 4 placeholders last year. This year we had 4, next year we're projecting 4, the year before we had 4. So they have to remain consistent. So we're not building in more placeholders for the potential outplacements.
Thank you.
Katie?
Couple questions. How many kids are in this, I know ESS is a service, but I'll call it in the ESS program? How many children altogether this year?
24?
We have, the high school program has up to 18 positions. or
But how
slots
many
for
are
children.
actually in it?
And there are 15 with one more referral. So at the high school, we're 16 out of 18.
I thought so.
At the middle school, we have 9 slots, and we have 1 child already on the waiting list.
So you filled 9 and 16, so you got 25. Okay. And then, can somebody tell me the cost per pupil of a child in ESS versus the cost per pupil, pick an age, pick a grade, that's not in ESS? How much more per child? I know there's only 25, but let's just pretend it's 25 and 25. So what's the difference? Does anybody know that?
I think I had figured in the ESS it was about 30,000 per child, and regular ed it's a little under 16.
So, close to double. If you take the older kids, the younger kids, or whatever, we could average it out. Okay, great. And what did you do before the company, ESS? Different company?
No,
No.
we have, this is our 4th year contracting with
You
them.
did it in,
And we relied on our staff prior to that.
okay, thank you.
And this is the first year it's a static home, so it's been in the high school, this is the fourth.
Right, I
this
knew
is the
that,
first
yeah.
year it's static.
So before, we did handle it in-house, so to speak. Great, thank you.
Mary Jane?
So the total amount of money that's been cut out of the ESS program is approximately 300,000, 290. So I just really have a problem with this. I'm on the New Milford CAM committee, and for 2 years we've done studies about where our kids are falling down, falling through the cracks, where they're lacking in their developmental assets. And I feel like the message maybe has gone right over the heads of the people on the Board of Education that cut this ESS program. These are the kids that are gonna have problems in the future. They're gonna be costing society a lot more money in many ways. And I'm really having a hard time understanding what part of the equation that you did not hear from the New Milford CAN surveys. And I know a lot of people and a lot of the educators were there too. To me, it's pretty astounding that this money is being cut out of this program. These kids need this instruction, they need this caring environment, they need all the developmental assets that they can possibly get, such as caring school climate. This is one of the 40 developmental assets for adolescents 12 to 18. Parent involvement in schooling, caring neighborhoods, they need all of these things. Other adult relationships, positive family communication, family support. You can't even, you can't put a price tag on it. And these kids that are going to be left out of these programs are going to be having problems forever. It's not going to go away. And I think it's really a gross disservice to the students that are in this program already that this amount of money has been cut out. So I think you really need to go back and reevaluate this, put the money back in, and let's keep this program going.
I would just reiterate that these students will not, they will continue to receive care. It's not, they're going to all of a sudden be cut off. They will continue to receive care as they did before this program came in.
But almost $300,000 less in care. So that equates
We
to
always
a
look
lot
for
of,
efficiencies.
a lot of problems and a lot of issues. I just think it's a travesty, basically, this has been cut out. And, not for nothing, but the town has a opioid task committee. I think there's probably people in here that are on it. And is nobody listening to that either? Like, why are we doing this? Nobody's listening. So I think for the people that voted against this or voted for this cut, I think you need to seriously go back and read the results of the studies that we did. Thank you.
David?
Well, Mary Jane, we can put the money back in, so there's an answer to that question. What I'm hearing is, and with my experience with this program, it is successful. And, we always try to measure success with dollars. The cost-benefit analysis. You're using the wrong model. You can't use cost-benefit analysis when it comes to health, safety, and welfare. And God forbid, somebody's life. Because you can't put a value on that because you can't bring it back. You can't bring back these the illnesses that could result from this, the actions that can result from this. You can't bring them back. The model doesn't apply to this. And I think if we remove that from our thinking and get back to what many of the public have been saying, our mission, what is it that we're here to do? Not just provide something, but we know we have the ability to provide a top-notch service, which I would argue is a bargain when you have these specialists that come in. We don't have to pay their benefits. We don't have to pay their retirement costs. We don't have to pay their insurance. You hire 3 social workers, which, by the way, I would love. In addition to this, your 3 social workers, even at a starting cost, exceeds your $300,000 that you're telling me you're saving. It's a successful program. I would urge that we go with it, particularly in today's environment. And as many of you know, we see rising special ed students in population because we're better at diagnosis and we're better at treatment. And to do that, you do have to pay for it. So to say, well, let's do it the way we did it before, it didn't work the way we did it before. That's why we brought in a program to make it successful, to service, to help, and do it to our best of our ability. So let's not look at it in cost-benefit analysis. It's very difficult. You look at the police department and cost-benefit analysis, the fire department, if they just save 1 life, how can you put a price tag on that? You can't. But we know that we can provide those agencies with what they need, the training, the equipment, things like that. Let's do the same with our schools. So I won't go any further with that, so thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mike?
Yeah, going back again, so hypothetically, let's say the program is cut, or it's not as it is today. What is the plan to help these kids? Is there, I know that Dr. Parker said there's not a plan as of yet because we don't exactly know until July 1st, and I get all that. But is there a safety net for these kids? How does this work?
We have a top-notch special education department, extensive staffing, $16 million, almost $16 million in costs, 23% of our budget. We are not forgetting about losing or dropping any students. These needs will be met through our program, of which special ed received an increase in their budget as they do every year. We have an incredible program in place, and those needs will be met.
I guess comments on my part. Special education, there's so many variables, and it's really a very slippery slope, and it's kind of a spin-off of Councilman Lawson. I'd be hard-pressed to vote for this budget. In fact, I would not vote for this budget. You got 1 disaffected kid, 5 disaffected kids, 10 disaffected kids, 15 disaffected kids, 20 disaffected kids, 25, 30. We own those kids. They are in this community. It is our duty to serve them. It is our duty to educate them. It's our duty to make them good citizens. You got school violence, you got the opioid crisis, you got suicide. How many of those kids would move in that direction without some kind of special program, without some kind of special help? Let's not throw them under the bus. And Madam Chair, when you said this is a want, not a need, I puked.
Sorry to hear that. Again, I would reiterate, we have multiple programs and staff members and, you know, safety nets, as you called it, for these students. There are students with these same issues that are not in this program. There are students all across the state of Connecticut, all across the country that are not in this program. And they are serviced every day by their staff, their school, as will our students continue to be every single day.
$106 million budget. We're going to argue over $300,000 to help disaffected kids by not providing them the opportunity to lift themselves up. We own these kids. It's our responsibility. It is our duty. It is our moral duty to service these kids. If we don't do that, shame on us. Shame on the community. Shame on the Board of Education. Shame on me if I would vote for this budget.
Mr. Bear, may I say something? New Milford School District is one of the finest in the area. We service almost 4,000 students, employ 550 people, and are responsible for almost $66 million of this town's money. We have the most qualified administrators from all our administrators sitting behind us, our principals, assistant principals, teachers, paras. We take children from the ages of 3 and 4 and begin to develop their minds in our Excel program and run them up through 12th grade, and some even beyond that, depending on their needs. We provide services, social, emotional learning to every one of these 4,000 students, and we do it efficiently. We would love lots more money, and if this town would give it to us, we would do it and provide every possible service in the world. We have a responsibility to this town, to our employees. We have the finest teachers, paras, and educators there is, and we do an incredible job. And if anybody ever wondered the job we do, come down to WestCon and Joan, sit on that stage and watch 300 to 400 students receive their diplomas from every area, every social, emotional, and challenge they have, and we have succeeded, and we continue to do it every year. That is our mission, that is our goal, and that is our charge, and we do that, and we are proud of what we do.
And let's send it to the will of the people, Joseph. Let's send it to the will of the people. Put back $300,000.
We can't put
Let
it back.
the people decide.
Our budget is closed. It is now in the hands of all people.
Board of Finance, put it back.
Joe?
Does anyone else want to talk about ESS? Because I'd like to move on a little bit.
Yes, I do.
All right, so let's go through it.
We'll do it.
Mike?
Just one thing, it's very helpful to see the program in place. Is that something that I can go down and take a look at?
Absolutely.
And do I get in touch with you, Laura?
Mr. Shabiro, Mr. Longo, Dr. Wyman.
Great, thank you.
I just have a question. We're
Mr.
talking.
Lawson?
Sorry.
I'll defer.
We're talking a lot about special education students. Could you clarify for me? My understanding is that there are children who receive ESS services who are not special education students. So how is it that we're going to propose using special education funds potentially to create a solution for some children who are not even in special education?
No, it is, you're correct. It is a program that services students. Some of them are special ed, some of them are regular ed. It is housed, the funding has been put under Ms. Olson's purview, and she supervises that program because she supervises all the mental health type of people. And so any special ed students, special ed money would be used for those. Regular ed money will be used for regular ed students. So it's not that we're increasing or decreasing special education money.
We kind of are if we're talking about the same pot of money and we're trying to add more stuff into the same pot of money, correct?
But it's the program and it's just housed in special education.
So I oversee two departments, the Department of Special Education, which services students with IEPs, but then I also oversee the Department of Pupil Personnel. And the Department of Pupil Personnel is where ESS is housed. And that services all students, our psychologists, our social workers, all of our mental health needs in the district, our nurses, So there's two different departments. You're correct, ESS is not exclusively for special ed. In fact, 40% of our students right now either have 504s or are general ed.
I didn't think this was a discussion, but I will just add my opinion so that it's on the record that I think this is an irresponsible decision.
Ross?
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm hearing is the program's successful. If these two boards here can come up with $300,000, I'm assuming the board would be amicable to using those funds to reinstate that cut. That's what I'm hearing. Am I wrong, anybody?
Mr. Gold?
I'm good.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure what I understood that you
Yeah,
said.
no, what I'm saying is if these two boards were to increase or maintain an extra $300,000 for the Board of Education, what I'm hearing is that those monies would be used to reinstate the ESS program.
Who are you hearing that from, Mr. Lawson?
Well, that's what I'm hearing around the table here, Walter, for example.
With all due
Mary Jane,
respect,
from some of the
David,
parents.
you know the process
Mhm.
because we've
I
been
do know
through it
the
many
process.
times. The process is that we are in our second stage. The board has adopted its budget. It is now in the responsibility of here before us. Whatever line item conversation we're having, as you know, will always go through all of line item adjustments based on the total appropriation by the New Milford taxpayer when it is passed over to the Board of Education. And I can assure you, as we have in the past, that when that appropriation is passed, all the lists that you have seen in the past, and I have them all, if I'd like to see them again, are reviewed. The same way that changes were made in previous years in the month of June by adding in pay to play, adding in half of an administrator, modifying certain line items.
No, I'm
And that's
aware.
what we do. So what you're hearing, I want to be
So I
clear,
didn't hear it, okay.
we do not have the authority to sit here on behalf of the entire Board of Education and vote for them. You know that. And for you to insinuate that is, I think, it's inappropriate. What we do is we go back and we examine the entire number, period. And you have our word as a collective body that this will be part of the conversation.
Okay. Mary Jane?
I just, one more comment. You have a good program, take $300,000 out, it's obviously not going to be the same. And families and children are going to be affected. There's just no question about it. So I will tell you, I will absolutely support putting this money back into the budget. And I hope that you will see fit to put the money back into the program, those of you that decided to make the cut. And I hope the Board of Finance will also go along with adding the money back in.
Katie?
Okay, I don't want to beat this horse too much, but I just want to make sure, I've heard a lot of comments, and I've heard lots of public, moms, children speak to us in the last few days. And as we are voted in to take care of the taxpayers' money, and you guys do a wonderful job, and every teacher in this town does a wonderful job, I just want to make sure I'm clear on this. So let's talk about efficiency, which is one of the driving forces, as I understand, Angie, in this decision. So there is that, and I understand what Amy said, that there's a certain pot of money, and now you're either going to put more into that bucket, and so it might be diluted a little bit. But if I understand this well, every student who needs help within our school system, regardless of what grade they're in, regardless of what's wrong with them, regardless of what kind of help they need, they have always been helped in the past, whether they go out of district or they stay in district. That will remain the same. No child will be given less care, because I think you all do know about our surveys, you do understand about the information that we all hear about kids, but every child will be taken care of. Can you, Angie, you're the chairman, can you tell me that that is a fact? that no child will go left behind, so to speak.
They're required by law to do that.
And you will find a way to do it regardless of this 330,000 or whatever. As you said, it happens in June, once you have it narrowed down. So no child's going to get anything less than they would have gotten. Thank you.
Well,
I just want to clarify something. Even if the council or the Board of Finance returns $300,000 to the Board of Education, we have no authority to
Correct.
put the ESS back in there. The board has its own discretion on what to do with that money.
Yes,
There
we
is
all
no
know that,
guarantee
Walter. We're all well aware of
that
that.
that money, that program will be put back in place. Is that correct?
Yes.
Correct.
any other questions? Rob?
You've been on the board, you know, so.
I just got a question about the budget, and I did some numbers, and some of you have been on the BOE for a long time, maybe can help me out with some of the numbers. In 2009, we had like 5,500 students, correct? And I think the budget was around 5,500. And then today, we're at 3,900, and we're at 6,500. So we're 20% more on the budget and 30% less than students. And obviously, in the next coming years, mandates and increases on stuff. At some point, there could be some other tougher choices to make. And not cutting programs, but cutting administrators and teachers. If it goes to where we start getting less and less students, and the higher it comes up, there's going to be more decisions to make. Not more of a question, but it's more of an outlook and statement that where we're going up and less students. So, is that correct in some of the numbers that I discussed?
Generally,
Yes.
Yeah, but I had 5,500 in 2009 and 5,500 now. So it's around $10,000 per student. Now we're around $16,800 per student. And 30% less than students and 20% higher in budget.
Joe?
So I'll piggyback on what you're doing. Because actually, I'd like to kind of draw on this thread a little bit, because it's kind of interesting. Just so I'm clear, what budget in the last 10 years has the Board of Ed budget actually gone down? Has there been a single year where the budget has actually gone down?
We've had zeros.
Has it gone down?
Your question is, has it been less than previous than before?
Yes.
No.
Ever?
Not get to weekend.
Can you say that a little louder?
It can't be because of the minimum budget requirement.
Thank you. And it's interesting because I actually did look back, and in 2010, from 2010 to today, there's actually been a 52% increase in spending per pupil. It was about $11,000 back then. This year, $16,803, and that's not the state's adjusted, because you said it was $15,556. But if you actually divide last year's budget by the number of students, we're at $16,316. So it's just an interesting little shift there. But what I really wanted to ask you a question about is, where's your capital budget?
Let's talk about that.
Because there's a big goose egg for last year and a big goose egg for this year, and I'd like to know how much was actually spent on the school in capital expenditures on like your PPE for last year.
322,000, we came before this very body and asked for monies out of our capital reserve, and which was approved by the town council and the Board of Finance. It was zeroed out in the previous year, not because we did not plan on coming for those expenditures, but in the process of slowing down the spending out of the capital and line item identifying it, taking a pause, collaborating, and meeting with the town and saying, what can we pull out of here, maybe we can work together on. We then took that list, we sent it through both committees, we sent it to the board, we came here, we came to the Board of Finance, and that capital reserve account was drawn upon, and those expenditures were appropriated and fulfilled. Moving forward in the budget that you see before you, the capital being zeroed out is really putting a pause on how we spend it, because that capital budget, if this budget were to pass as is, regardless of what was amended in the Board of Education budget, that authorizes the Board of Education to spend $422,000 out of our capital reserve, when currently we have approximately $651,000, and I have it here thereabouts, which would have drawn our capital reserve automatically down about $200,000. Therefore, in a prudent manner not to do that, the board decided that we once again take a look at all those line items, work with the town, bring them forward.
want here have an opportunity to weigh in on that, vote on it, and it goes to the town in 3 different levels.
Awesome. But how much, all right, so what was the number that was spent, like including the roofs and all that sort of stuff on?
Well, that's not the 5-year capital plan in the
No, no, I
budget.
know. I was just curious how much was spent overall.
So if you're talking about the roofs, that's a different number.
Yeah. But it was
So
$322,000 outside of the roof for the high school.
our capital last year, that was 300 and I believe 22,000, I'll get it.
352.
352, thank you very much.
And what was that for? That was the oil tank and there was,
No, that's our capital, we have capital in our budget, out of our
Right.
5-year capital plan.
that's totally separate.
The oil tanks and the roof are not part of that equation.
That's, yeah.
So I just want to be clear which
Yeah.
capital you're referring to.
So I just, that was an addition to the 352,000.
Those are capital projects, bonding and everything else in addition. So if you're,
That's on the town side.
on the town
That's
side, absolutely.
Anybody have any other additional questions?
I actually have one. Have you discussed combining anything with the town? Like maybe like the maintenance department? Or any of those sorts of things that
No,
you might be
no.
able to find some additional
I'm on a
efficiencies?
roll, so I don't know. Go
We've
ahead.
been on a continual collaboration with the mayor's office with regard to that discussion. It's been an open discussion and it's something we're open to, particularly with regard to maintenance from the walls, the outside of the walls. What's inside those buildings has to stay in our control for a whole host of reasons.
Yeah.
It is something we're open to. It's a very complicated situation. You have different unions, different services, but it's an ongoing conversation in the mayor's office that we've had. We've been a little busy right now. So, but it is an open discussion.
We have started monthly meetings for collaboration purposes, and so we will continue those. We paused them for the budget, but we will continue those.
I have one more, if that's okay. I don't want to dominate the conversation too much. I don't know if there's anything to add or anything. So you'd mentioned that there was a school district that had a 7% increase in their budget?
Denver.
And why was that?
They're actually 8.36.
8.36.
And
they had approximately 675,000 675 students show up for school in September. It was 600 in September, an additional 75 over last year. They didn't know about it.
Right.
So they had children come through the door and say, we're here for school, and nobody knew about it. So Danbury is in a unique situation with the incredible population growth there, and they literally don't have space.
For the students. So that was like an outlier, right? That was like, there was like an extenuating circumstance that's driving the, well, you're right, who knows, the population could explode there.
And truly, it's something that we're looking at as a Board of Ed, because Bethel also has increasing enrollment. And our enrollment was declining, but we're stabilizing. And so we continue to get new students on, like at Hill and Plain. We're concerned about our numbers next year because we are getting, let's say, some spillover, and our numbers they're starting to level out, and they may increase, because Bethel has seen that, and they're, close to the increase.
On that same thread, you had $23,000 for Sherman, section 1, all that sort of stuff. Is that out of line for those districts, given that they have the students spread out, smaller numbers, that sort of thing, like where you don't have the efficiencies that you'd have in like a New Milford?
I mean, that's very possible that they're more self-contained than we are in, smaller towns.
And, yeah, like I know last year I discussed with the superintendent of Sherman, and he was at about $19,000 per student, but his busing costs per student are astronomical, right? Because it's a smaller town, everything's more spread out.
Well, they don't have a high school, so they have to transport their high school
Transport
students
their high
to
school
other
students.
towns as well.
And what do we charge them for the high school students that come to New Milford?
I'm not sure off the top. It's not the exact number that's in the state calculation, but it is close.
13,500 last year?
The board authorizes that, I think it's September of each year. It's 13, 14.
It's almost $14,000.
So less than what we actually pay as a municipality per student?
Yes.
They provide their own transportation, and they help with special ed also. So some of the costs that we would normally incur for our own students, they help us bear.
Eugene?
So, different topic, what are your plans, contingency plans for the coronavirus? I know-
Oh, good question.
We're
We're working on the letter right now, and I have
Good call, Mary
an
Jane.
email into Mike Kristen, because all of the area superintendents were all sharing our drafts of our letters to say, you know, as with anything, we need to be following standard precautions for the flu or cold season, and so we're working on communicating that, and also, every day we get an update from the state, as far as, you know, we can only communicate so much, there aren't any cases at this time, and so, but we are being actively aware and trying to take the precautions. We clean, excellent. There is an incredible video, it's something we should really post on our website, of the cleaning that goes on every night, the spray that they do in the rooms, the custodians, that just, it just goes all over surfaces to try to, I guess, disinfect. And we'll continue doing that, but, you know, we'll be like everyone, we're going to do the best we can to plan for that.
It's coming.
It is.
Of course, it's out of the
Yeah.
The federal government has set out recommendations what to do, and they pretty much follow that for influenza at this time, as far as we know about this condition. That's just handed down.
Oh, right.
And so we follow those precautions now, and we do have plans in place, and they're expanding. The state's been in contact with all of us. We've just received emails tonight on this. So we are on top of it.
We're passing, I'm sorry, we're passing around the org chart that was requested, so I want to make sure that.
You need a magnifying glass to read it, it will be available to you.
Thank you.
Look at it online, we can zoom in a little bit better.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, like Joe, for example, it's been brought up about collaboration between the town and the school, and I'd just like to ask Anthony and Greg, the collaboration with the medical insurance is very, very substantial. And I think these boards, all, well, the public as well, really needs to know the cost avoidance, not just for this year, but in future years, for the medical insurance. What was it on the town side? Savings for medical?
For this current year?
Yeah.
A couple million. I don't know the
Ballpark
exact figure
figure.
off.
Was it more than $1 million?
Yes.
Was it more than $2 million?
Just shy? Less than two, if I.
Don't pin me down, I'll get back.
No,
There was savings, there was cost avoidance.
Anthony,
yes.
We have that answer for you.
Yeah.
It was between $1 and $2 million combined for
Yes.
board
Right,
and
now-
town, and that's the opportunity cost versus if we stayed on a self-insured.
So that's cost avoidance.
So we're talking $3 million perhaps, maybe even north of that?
Around 2.7.
About $2,700,000. And I think that's something to be applauded on both sides while still providing maximum service. I think that's the key thing. Maximum service for the employees for their health insurance. And I don't know what that would equate to percentages on either side, but I suspect
That's almost a
This
mill.
is the beginning of
That's
a
worth
good
a mill.
collaboration.
yeah. So, and that's something that will continue with the cost avoidance, and I think we need to be cognizant of that when we're looking at the budget.
You know, to that effect, and brings back old memories of us.
Yeah, I'm sure it
back and
does.
forth, But to that effect on collaboration, the insurance alone on the board side is a cost avoidance of well over $600,000. So when we look at these numbers of 2.8, 2.2%, we knew when we sat down to the table 2 years ago, many of us who worked on this and came to meetings in this very room time and time again, that we have to start doing things differently, keep these numbers down. These numbers are not perfect. Just as you hear from these very impassioned parents, and rightfully so, we've got to make it work for everybody. We're trying to keep these numbers down, and we knew that when we began this with the insurance. Now, we have an exit plan. We are rare in the municipalities in the state of Connecticut that we have actually an MOU in plan, and I think the town also needs to know that not only did the committees and the people involved enter into that to save money and provide a great plan, but they also constructed an MOU that would allow us, if the plan, because insurances are, we don't know, are fluid, thank you very much, that we have a way to kind of go back and hit the reset button without it being catastrophic. So I think that that's a very good example of collaboration, and I can certainly tell you that one of the first things when this budget was put together that I checked with our team is, what are we doing on insurance? Because we wanted to see the fruits of our labor coming into this town and what we've done here. And as you all may recall, there was a joint meeting in which the town did vote on this, so it's a very positive thing. And, you know, these budgets, town and board-wide, reflect that cost avoidance, and it is significant.
And I just want to, go ahead, and just want to get back to capital reserve very quickly. I know there was a transfer last year during, in June, when was it? Town council put in several $100,000 from our capital reserve to be used for this year's fiscal budget.
200,000.
200,000. So the budget is
Not several hundred dollars. Just want to clarify.
So when your budget was presented, this budget here, you basically started with 200,000 in the hole.
Correct.
Okay, am I correct in that
Yes.
analysis?
Correct.
Okay, so from the get-go, you were 200,000 down already.
Well, that's true on a budget-to-budget basis.
Right.
Once that's realized in our budget for 1920, it'll be on a revised budget basis. But to your point, yes, when we're building the 2021, comparing to 1920, original to original, there is that gap, because the revised is not taken into consideration.
Thank you.
I just want to follow up on Mary Jane on the question on the coronaviruses. If it comes to that point in time we're contemplating closure of schools, who has the final authority on that? Is it board? Is it?
Superintendent.
Okay, so the town and the state can't just come in and say that, it's up to the board. I just want to make that clear to everybody.
But I certainly don't make that decision.
Alone, I understand that, Dr.
Yeah, we're close. Yeah.
Okay.
My daughter would be very angry. She loves going to
That's
school.
cool.
Oh, she loves it.
I
Teachers
did
are
that
great.
for so many years, you know.
I just want to, like, this is just entirely off topic, but it's just something in, like, listening to all of the conversations. I think that being that we're a deliberative body, I understand that emotions play a very key role in having a conversation about a lot of these things, but we're here basically looking at a financial budget. And you have to always kind of keep in the back of your mind that this is a financial decision, and an emotional decision when you're dealing with finances can be very destructive, you know? This is why a lot of people on Wall Street let computers do all the thinking. They sit back and go, okay, this is what I want to do. They create a plan and then they execute the plan, win, fail, or otherwise. Because if you're watching the market, oh my God, it's up, oh my God, it's down, oh my God, it's up, you could very quickly find yourself in a hole. And we kind of want to make sure that we're doing the same thing, especially being this way I pointedly asked if the budget had ever gone down. The Board of Ed budget can never go down. You know, there are very stringent circumstances in which we could have a budget where the delta is negative, you know? So you don't want to make these decisions lightly. And I really don't feel that you are with ESS. I mean, that's, you know, it sounds like you have a plan in there anyway. And, you know, as I've said many times, I kind of think the Board of Ed budget is kind of fluid at this point anyway. You know, a lot of it is kind of a best guess, and you do kind of hammer everything into stone after we've had the actual town referendum and the taxpayers have voted on it and approved it. So just wanted to, you know, make this a comment, because I heard a lot of really emotional statements, you know. And you know, you don't want to get people too riled up, and, you know, we want to kind of think about this with a clear head. We don't want it to be, you know, hate-filled, you know. I didn't think it was, but just, yeah.
Yep. Well, I'll agree with Joe. I mean, we're a small town, we all know each other, we all have children. Decisions are tough. They're even more tough when you're in the public eye. You make a decision at home, it's just a family, but when you're put out in the public eye, you know, a lot of these people don't get paid to do this. A lot of hours and time. And there's decisions that they're gonna have to make that sometimes people aren't gonna like. And there's decisions that we as a group will have to change if we feel like we don't like. And that's what's great about democracy, like Joe said. And I thank the passion of the people that I've heard this week, the kids in the program, their interests, and certainly the Board of Ed. It's not easy. I think it's harder to be on BOE than it is on town council.
Mr. Lawson?
I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Right now, you are correct.
Yeah. So, again, with Joe, there is passion, there's a lot of emotion, but, we're a small town, we'll get it figured out. These kids will not be left behind. We'll get it figured out. There's a lot of smart people in this room, and so we'll get it figured out one way or the other.
Can I also expand on that regardless of what happens, I've said this for 19 years, so I'm dating myself. We need to find a way to get out there as public officials and promote our budgets, sell our budgets. We want them to pass. We need them to pass. And we can only do that as a team. And we have had, this town has had difficult budgets over the past, and yes, you are correct that we have, our budget has gone up. But when you look at our increases of 0, 0, 1.64, 2.89, 101, 0.36, 0.83, 0.32, 1.63, we are losing ground.
With all due respect,
I know
the
you
per
just-
pupil basis has gone up over the last 10 years, on average, 4.2% per student. So the per pupil spending has increased way more than that, and we've closed the school. So let's, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt
No,
what you're saying,
these
but I kind of feel like the
conversations-
0% is a little bit of a misnomer because it's not the reality of the situation.
But I also, with all due respect, the reality of the situation is New Milford, just like every other municipality in the state of Connecticut, has challenges, they have contractual obligations, and we have taken it upon ourselves to really try and collaborate with the town and do some cost savings. And that insurance is a very good example.
Just so you know on that point, and I'll let you, take a look at my book right here. Salaries and benefits, which are contractual, are approximately $50 million of our budget.
3.32% increase, yeah.
Right. Our discretionary portion of this $65,464,000 is approximately $400,000. That's why we are where we are. We have very little room for extra things we'd like to
do. I know it's really hard, and yes, I know schools been closed and this, that, and the other. Well, don't usually talk about my family life, but in the last 2 years, population of my home went down 50%. But my costs have not. My costs have not gone down 50%. My insurance is up. I had to put a new roof on, and my capital reserve is not that healthy. Okay, these types of things. So I look for efficiencies. We have 2 cars. Get rid of one, you'll save money. No, I don't. Because now I use that car more, the one I kept. I'm buying tires more often. I will not speak about the driving habits of others in the household presently that contribute to costs. You have to go through it much quicker. I'm getting a new car much quicker. So, again, we have to use the proper analysis when we're looking at these types of things. The heating is going up. Now, we have collaborated on that too, so between the schools, we have collaborated on that to mitigate those costs. We've collaborated on the gasoline. Well, my neighbors wouldn't do it with me, so you know what? I'm stuck, and my costs are the same with 50% reduction. So let's be careful with our statistics, folks.
Anything else? Steve?
So, just going back to the capital plan.
Sure.
So, if I have it correct, at the end of the budget cycle, the reserves are gonna be left at 200 and change, right?
No,
The five-year
actually,
plan?
no.
No?
Right now, I believe it is, I have everything here, but it's over, based on the last audit and the deposit, it's over 651,000, Mr. Giuliani?
Yes, just double checking.
I have it too.
So that's the current.
662.
662. So that is as of right now, snapshot. So in our budget book, if you look under capital, and you see that it was zeroed out, it was paused because those expenditures will come back to bodies that will examine those and start with the board and say, okay, what can we really take a look at? We then take that list, come back, and come to the appropriate bodies and withdraw those funds. We do it in, as soon as we have a budget, you will see us again, as you did last year. So to answer your question, there's over $600,000 in the account, but we fully expect to take a portion, if not the majority of what's in our capital plan, and come back and reevaluate and submit a request.
It's fluid at this point.
So this time next year, you will see that number down accordingly. But who knows, maybe we were able to, meet with the mayor's team and pull some things out of there, identify some things, and that's what we're continuing to do.
We have a new partnership with the town with Celtic Energy that has barely gotten
Thank you.
started.
And
And
that
we
may affect
anticipate
it.
that some of the things on our capital reserve
That's right.
may be
Hold off.
reduced
So I
or
said-
eliminated, or, that partnership's just getting started, so.
Do you have a projection as to what you expect to have left over as a budgetary balance at the end of your fiscal year for this year?
Of this year, right now? Well, we look at it every month, that's hard to say. We usually,
We don't have one currently, usually around April.
we do. It depends on all the reimbursements and things like that. And also, our end of the year balance, this is solely my take on it, because board members have heard me speaking about this forever. We have to be very careful with whatever. As you know, we cannot fall into a deficit. That's going to be a whole different conversation should that occur, and not a pleasant one at that. So the board started earmarking some funds at the end of the year to put in the turf field for replenishment. Depends on how much is left over. So we can't guarantee that you can take 50,000 and earmark it for a turf field if you need to close your books out. So that's a fluid number as well.
Is the town or the Board of Ed in charge of the maintenance for the turf field?
We maintain our fields.
And how much is in the account now for?
On the board
replacement?
side, $108,000 approximately, 100,000, 250,000 back-to-back from the BOE, and approximately over $8,000 from the board from some of the fees.
And has the town contributed
Yep.
to this?
There's 50,000 to be transferred before the end of the fiscal year.
So what is in the town side right now, like as of today? If you were to look at this map, what's in the town side?
For what?
The turf field.
We have $50,000 that's yet to be transferred.
So there's zero in the town side as of now, but 50
It
going.
all goes into the same account under the capital reserve, under the turf field. It'll be transferred there.
Okay.
And then if it's a
Be
budget.
appended to the amount that's already
Okay,
in
so
there.
right now, and I just want to be clear, because I've asked this question, and we need to have this conversation out in the open, because a few years from now, we're going to have to really take a look at this. On the board side, there's been 108,000. On the town side, you're saying that you're expected to put in 50,000.
That's what's
We-
budgeted
Gotcha.
this year.
This budget that we're in now,
Right.
already approved by the taxpayers for 50,000. This year's budget is another 50,
So it'll be another 100.
so we'll have 100.
And what's the life expectancy left on the turf field?
10 to 12 years.
God, there you go. I usually answer those can't.
450 square foot to replace, 80,000 on the north, there's 110 on the south. So it's about 800,000.
Yeah?
800,000 to replace it, and we're halfway through the life, let's say? 'Cause-
No.
2016, it was installed in July.
No.
Okay, so we're coming up on.
We are coming.
10 to 12 years.
Yeah. We're on our way.
With this account, just a quick question, is that an interest-bearing account? Excellent, excellent. So the higher the number we have, obviously, well, interest rates are shoddy right now, but.
Right.
So you know, we're also working on several methods or matters to increase what we contribute into that fund. So we're looking at several options, changing the way fundraising is and advertising on fields. It's been struggling. There is a committee Wendy belongs to. We're working on it, and on our side, we're looking to see what we're going to get additional monies in there.
We put a billboard right behind the field to.
We already had advertising.
You can do advertising, and we're going to change the way that's done so we get it out to the community and really encourage them to do that.
Any other questions?
Just to reiterate on top of that, what Joe was talking about, the turf field. Because Wendy, myself, Pete, and everything else, I did a lot of math on it and stuff, and the savings. Obviously, we'll never see the savings because it's going to be absorbed somewhere else. But between the line painting, maintenance, lighting, all the LED lights saves over 70%. I figured it out in the lifespan, and the 10 to 12 is for one field. So if you have multi, it actually extends more. So the savings was almost $450,000 over the lifespan of both fields in maintenance and lining and energy. So on top of that, you can add that as well. Obviously, it's absorbed somewhere else, but it wouldn't cost that much to maintain them, to mow them, and line them.
It's just a known expense that I kind of have always felt that we should be planning for. That was the only question that we should be planning for, because I hate to have another $1 million bond.
That was one of the stipulations in the meetings we talked about the future.
And I'm glad to see it, I'm glad to see the town.
We do, as a matter of fact, we have a meeting next week,
Discussed in
y'all.
that committee, right? This type of thing you discuss in that committee, right?
We do discuss that in committee.
Right. Good.
Does anybody have any other questions? I'd like to thank the board.
I'd like to thank you all.
Thank you all. Staff, for all you guys do for our kids. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Motion for recess?
Public comment?
Public comment.
It's on here at the end as well. It's on there at the end as well. I'm just waiting for conversations to stop. I'd like to cover what is being listened to. Megan Bird, 2 Carlson Road. This is not an emotional plea. I do not have a child in the ESS program. I do have 2 children in the school district though, and I do believe that the ESS program provides valuable, extraordinarily valuable, and actually invaluable, but you cannot put a price tag on. We listened to one student Monday night in this very room basically say that program saved their life. They were suicidal, they needed help. That program provides them help. It allows them to be back in our school system and not outsourced to some other place. And they are now succeeding. $290,000 isn't worth a life. Worth a pothole machine. Not worth a life. How much was it then for the replacement of the turf field? $800,000 to replace it. It was $1 million to put it in, and that's every 10 years.
It was more than $1 million.
And that's every 10 years, 12 years? But $290,000 a year isn't worth a mental health program when we are in a mental health crisis in this country and in this town. We are in an opioid crisis in this town, and where do you think these kids turn to when they are not provided the services that they need, that their families can't afford? We listened to a clinical psychologist, and I don't know if she spoke here, was it here, or at the Board of Ed meeting? If you are trying to find your child a private practitioner, the wait list is unreal. The costs are unreal. Most do not accept Husky. And what percentage of our town is on free and reduced lunch and can't afford things on their own? And probably are on Husky insurance or an insurance that has such a high deductible that it's all coming out of their pocket and they can't afford it anyway? This is not, you want to talk dollars and cents, let's talk dollars and cents. But it really shouldn't be a dollars and cents discussion. There is no way to put a dollar value on saving this money. But if you do want to put a dollar value on it, we are taking $290,000 out of the budget. We're not hiring anybody else to replace those practitioners that we're going to lose. So therefore, our existing practitioners that we do have in the school system are going to have an increased caseload. And they're going to take care of most critical patients first. Absolutely, they should. But what about the kids who are now going to be booted from their schedule because they didn't quite meet that urgent criteria? We have wonderful, wonderful staff in this town who are dedicated and are amazing. And yet what do? We try and shortchange them on their benefits. We try and shortchange them on their increases. We're worried about their contractual increases. People say they shouldn't be getting raises because in the private sector, I don't get a 3% raise. And yet then we turn around and we dump on them. Let's just increase their caseload. We don't need those other practitioners. Well, what about when we do need to outsource 3 to 5 of these kids who are currently in the school system still because we instituted this program? Where does that money come from? Next year when it happens in the middle of the school year? Where is that money coming from? Where? Tell me. There's no plan. There is no plan whatsoever. And to wait until July to try and find the money? Finding the money means taking it away from other programs that benefit all of our students. This is ridiculous. This has to stop. It has to stop now. We need to start caring for all of our students in this town. We need to stop shortchanging them. And we are shortchanging them year after year after year. It needs to stop. I urge you to reverse the decision of the Board of Education, add that money back in, and we will fight with them come June if they decide to try and put it anywhere but ESS. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Mrs. Mayor, motion?
Someone else would like.
Whoops, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
You snuck up on me.
I'm Allison Seidel, I'm a resident of New Milford. I'm the clinical psychologist who Megan referred to and got her submitted too late to make my comment earlier, so I'd like to take the opportunity to share some thoughts now. I have a very different perspective on the ESS program. I am a parent in this community, but I don't have any children in the ESS program or who take advantage of special education services. I'm a clinical psychologist in Brookfield, and I evaluate and treat many children who do come through the special education program here. And I can tell you that when we sit down with parents and we give them the results of their evaluations and tell them what their diagnosis is and what the child's needs are and what we recommend for them, we are always a little bit relieved when it's a New Milford student because we know that this ESS program may not be available in the majority of the other communities in the state, but that doesn't mean that there's not a need there for it. There are many, many students who have such complex mental health needs that finding services within already existing staff and clinicians in the school district is very hard to accomplish. I've worked personally with students in New Milford and outside New Milford who refuse to go to school. And I can tell you that it's very difficult to get kids back into school once they start refusing. And as you've heard from parents in the community, having this kind of program, because it's a very different environment than walking back into the school building, this allows some of those extremely vulnerable kids to get back in the door and get back on track. And so I'd like to thank all of the people tonight, Mary Jane, David, Amy, Mr. Gold, all the people, Mr. Bayer, who made comments supporting this and talking about how we can't look at this in terms of dollars and cents. We can't look at this in terms of what is the percentage difference this year over last year. Do we really want to be the community that cuts a program like this that helps the most vulnerable students and then have one of these kids come up and show up at school with a gun because they were so suicidal they didn't feel supported? I don't think we want New Milford to be in the national news for something like that. This is a program that's very specialized, that is doing this because there is a need, and I would really encourage the Town Council and the Board of Finance to reinstate the $290,000 and the Board of Education to
reallocate that money back to the ESS program. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, so excuse me if this isn't
Can you
there.
state your name, please?
Ciara Lynch. I'm a junior at the high school, and I feel as though I can't just sit back and watch this happen and let this happen as a high school student. And what I've seen from the high school as a student there, like obviously, it's a lot. I don't think that there has been one person that I've met at the high school, a student, that hasn't had their run-in with mental health. And this is an issue that is increasing, and it's difficult for me to sit here and listen to a few adults that don't understand the importance of this issue. And it's difficult to talk about, and I understand, but I think that we really need this program, and taking it away and taking money away from it is a huge step back. And we should not be taking a step back as a society, as a high school, as a community. And it's a terrible decision that we should not be making at all. There is an increasing amount of mental illness in our society, and I feel like we should remedy that with these programs. And I feel like, if anything, we should be adding to this. If this was around when I was dealing with something with my best friend in 7th grade, then I can confidently say that it would not be as difficult for her or for me. And the people that I've spoken to that have told me about their experiences and the people that are doing this program, there are no words for how amazing this program has been for them. And it would be terrible if we were to take away this program and then a student would commit suicide. That is the truth, and that is what I feel like will happen if this program is gone. And there have been students that have said that would happen if this program is not there to help them. I guess that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
And Ciara, I'd like to thank you for everybody to know, Ciara's been helping us with the taping. Though we have our camera here because our cameraman is ill. And she's also doing a documentary too, so thank you.
Hi, my name is Melissa Reiner. I live at 21st Medical Trail. Thank you all so much for listening, and I know it's been a long week for all of you. My son was accepted into the ESS program last year in April. I spent a year and a half before that taking him to therapy, meeting with the director of special education, talking with his guidance counselor, talking with his social worker, and I was told that my son is quiet, he doesn't cause problems at school, his behaviors were at home, and I was told by a social worker at New Milford High School that the reason she didn't call me back for 5 days is because there are students that are throwing chairs, or swearing, or dealing drugs, or getting in fights. And because my son was an introvert and hid in the bathroom and didn't want to be at school, she didn't have time for him. But that's not her fault. I think that the social workers and the staff are overwhelmed by the amount of students that need emotional support. And you can hire 3 social workers, but I can guarantee you that those social workers would not be able to devote the time that the ESS staff does to my son and the other students that are in that program, because they would be given a caseload, just like the social workers that are there now, and they would be helping students that obviously would need help, but these would be students that probably either were in crisis mode, where they were acting out in school and the situations were happening, or they would be helping, students that maybe not have as a severe a problem. My son would not go to school. He would get violent. He would throw things. He would break things. I, for a year and a half, struggled to get him in that door every day. And now that he's in the ESS program, he goes to school every single day unless he's ill. So I know that you say that
you will have a plan, you will hire people, but I worked in special ed for 15 years. I don't see getting rid of this program and saying you'll have a plan will help these students in their time of need right now. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak for the board's please?
I'd like to ask a question to the board of ed.
Well, Mr. Mayor?
If the money doesn't get put back in the budget, could you find a way to keep those programs with the budget that you've proposed?
Again, I think in June, we reevaluate everything, and we kind of always say everything's on the table, so.
So you could, even if the $300,000 doesn't get put back into the Board of Education budget, there's a possibility that you could find a way to make the decision to keep those programs because that's your authority.
It's always our authority to line and move, but one decision affects so many. It really does.
But it's a possibility.
There's always a possibility to move things around. But and you can see that getting to this point has not been easy to try and come in with a number that we can try and, at least take a look at. Joe, we can always, it's always a possibility, but I caution, I'd like to remind everyone, and everybody knows this because we've all been doing it a long time, one line item affects another. It takes away from another. And while you cannot equate some of the comments heard this evening to some of the other comments that come before the board of equipment or programs, one affects the other. And it's a tough balancing act.
And in that same vein, if the $300,000 gets put back in the budget, there's no guarantee that the Board of Education will actually keep the ESS program.
I think that would be decided on, but in June, as everybody said, but I would fight my hardest as a board member to bring that program back. As you probably know, I did not vote for the budget just based on that program alone. To answer your other question, Joe, we're cutting programs now before the budget even gets to you. We're going to have to cut programs that are going to impact students, and no matter what we do at this point, we're at a point where we have to cut programs that impact students, because that's where the budget is. So today you're hearing from ESS. Who would you be hearing from in June when we move things around to reinstate in ESS? Right now, every cut that we have to make, we're at bare bones here. Our budget increased, 2.2%. Only $75,000 of that 2.2% went towards, they went through the...
It's discretionary.
It's discretionary. But the rest of it was towards salary increases and towards insurance. So I wrote it down, I don't have it in front of me right now, but we're at bare bones.
So you're saying there's other programs that are already cut, so if we do put $300,000 back in, there's no guarantee it's going to ESS anyway?
Well, like I said, Joe, I would work my hardest.
Unfortunately, or fortunately, the process is that whatever the town of New Milford appropriates the Board of Education, we adjust. That's the process.
Man, I think in the past, on the rare occasions, the board is absolutely correct. They have sole discretion over how it goes. But you can always put a resolution or whatever. We would hope you do this. I think the trust between the boards is there. I mean, every time when I previously served on the Board of Education, coming before the Board of Finance with requests for capital, never, ever denied. Could they? Yes, but they haven't. Because we have that trust, and I believe in that. Now, and the board's correct, between now and June, something else could crop up. You never know. The stock market goes down 800 points 3 days in a row. Who saw that one coming? And those are the types of things that can happen. So
And often at time of adjustment, just to clarify, you will have a variety of different facets in this town approach the board advocating for where we should allot funds. And rightfully so. They advocate for what they believe in, whether it's uniforms, whether it's this program or that program, whether it's keeping the tag, whether it's, adding a teacher. These conversations go on and on and on.
Any other questions? Okay, so Walter, would you like to?
Make a motion for recess.
Board of Finance?
Board of Finance. All in favor?
Council, motion to recess.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Recess till 11. Thank you, everyone.
What